Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Native Americans of this country, they have taught me something that I always remember. Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do it to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things are connected. Our very survival is bound to the survival of others. Ladies and gentlemen, technology, that's what it does. Let me start by saying I am habitat. I am habitat. I come from a long line of generations of women who were married very young before they could define their own dreams. My great-grandmother became the 5th wife to my great-grandpa. And she was married off when she was very young. And my grandmother became the 6th wife to my grandfather. And she was also married very young. And my mother would also go through the same pathway. And I also, as you have heard, by the time I was 18, I was already a mother of 4. And one of the babies died as an infant because I failed to produce enough milk to feed the child. Now listen, many of you may be thinking, oh, poor Tererai, she must be a victim. But let me just say before we go any further, no, I am not a victim. I am part of the solution. And here is how I want to define who I am. I am a dreamer. I am the mistress of my own destiny. I refuse to let the past define who I am. I refuse to let the current challenges in my pathway become the narrative for my future. I defied the rules of my father. I defied the rules and norms of my culture. And I refuse to keep silent about societal expectations that marginalize women and girls to be submissive at the expense of their dignity, and I'll never be silent. Many of you might say, well, how can you say that? How could you defy everything that shaped generations of women before you? How could you defy everything that shaped your grandmother and your mother? And I always say, yes, I did, because I had hunger in my life. Hunger to improve my own life. There are two kinds of hungers in our lives. There is the little hunger. The little hunger is all about immediate gratification. What can I get today? It's all about me. The little hunger can't stay away from these cell phones. It has to check all the time how many Facebook likes did I get today. That's the little hunger. But the great hunger, the greatest of all hungers, is hunger for a meaningful life. Ultimately, as human beings, we become bitter when we lead a life without meaning, life without substance, life without service. It's in service that we get meaning in our lives. And I wanted that meaning. I wanted something better for myself, something better for my children. How many of you here are familiar with this race where you have these athletics, they are running in a race and they are holding a stick as they run, and the aim is to run so fast they pass these sticks to the next set of runners, and the next set of runners, they run and they pass the sticks to the next set up until they win. What is that race called? Relay. And what is that they are passing? the baton. I always visualized when my great-grandmother, when she was born into this relay that she never defined. And I call that the baton of poverty. And she was born holding this baton. And I'm going to call that the baton of early marriage, the baton of illiteracy, the baton of being born in a colonial country, the baton of oppression, the baton of silencing. She's running with that baton. She runs with that baton. She passes on to my grandmother. My grandmother grabs that baton of illiteracy, the baton of oppression. She runs so fast with that baton. She hands it over to my mother. My mother grabs that baton of oppression, the baton of early marriage, the baton of illiteracy. She runs so fast, my mother, with that baton. She hands it over to me. I never wanted that baton. It was never part of my race. Here I was, 22, running with that ugly baton. And my country had just gained independence. And a woman from America comes to my village. It's a rural, remote, no running water, no electricity. Finds me sitting with other women in a circle. She joins that circle and she introduced her name. I couldn't even remember her name. All I know, she had blue eyes, she was blonde, and we had just come from an oppressive colonial system. And I had never had white people sitting next to me. And I'm just looking, and she asked one fundamental question: what are your dreams? I had no idea that as a black woman, poor, marginalized, silenced, I'm supposed to dream. And I kept quiet, and she asked, what are your dreams? And I don't know, maybe it was the way she looked at me, maybe it was the way she kept on nudging me, and I opened my mouth and I became a chatterbox, and I said, I want to go to America. I want to have an undergraduate. I want to have a master's, and I want to have a PhD. And she looked back at me and she said, if you desire these dreams, they are achievable. And she used the word tinogona. It is achievable. And I'm thinking and I'm looking at her, and I could see the faces of other women and thinking, is this white woman gone crazy? How can she say that I can achieve a PhD when I didn't even have a high school education? I was expecting my 50th child. No high school, nothing. I ran to my mother and I said, Mother, I met this woman from America. The way she looked at me and the way she said, Tinogona, you can achieve your dreams. And I think that was music to my mother's ears. My mother said, Tererai, if you believe in what this woman has said to you, and if you work hard, and let's say you achieve your dreams, not only are you defining who you are in this life, not only are you defining who you are as a woman, but you are also defining every life that comes out of your womb and generations to come. And I realized in that moment that my mother was handing me something. And she said, you write down those dreams and bury them deep down in the ground, the same way we bury the umbilical cord, the birth cord. You see, when a child is born in my culture, they snip out that part of the umbilical cord. They grab the mother's old dress, they tear a small portion, and they tie that umbilical cord and they bury it deep down in the ground with the belief that when this child grows, wherever they go, whatever happens in their life, the umbilical cord will always remind them of the importance of their birthplace. My mother said, write down your dreams and bury them. Wherever you go, whatever happens, despite the abuse, the beatings that you are receiving from your husband, despite the insults, the silencing, those buried dreams will always remind you of their importance. My mother wanted me to break the vicious cycle of poverty in my family, the cycle of poverty in our community. So I wrote down my dreams, and I was ready to go and bury them so I could see these dreams growing. And when my mother said, your dreams will have greater meaning when they are tied to the betterment of your community. My mother was a very quiet woman, and I looked at her and I said, what does that even mean? And she just repeated the same thing. Tererai, your dreams in life will have greater meaning when they are tied to the greater good. I would end up writing my 5th dream. When I'm done, I want to come back and improve the lives of women and girls so they don't have to go through what I had gone through. And I buried my dreams. After burying my dreams, it would take me 8 years of achieving my GED. Many of you are very smart. I know if you were going to do your GED, it might probably take you 3 months. It took me 8 years, and 8 years of failing, 8 years of trying to get the next tuition to correspond and send these paperwork to a place called Cambridge in Britain, and where I would wait 3-6 months for that brown envelope, and I go to the post office and find that brown envelope and open it, and I realize I have a U ungraded, F failure, and I would go back, try to find tuition to pay for that, and I would go back after 3-6 months, and I would find the results are coming. I have a U and I have a D, and I would go back to the same desk, try to find money and write again and send to this place called Cambridge. 8 years, I have my high school diploma. I was on a journey. I was on a journey to break this baton, never to pass it on. Well, I found myself with my high school diploma, applied to come to the United States of America, the greatest country, and I am on campus and I'm looking, oh dear Lord, here I am. Now I can achieve all those dreams. And I realized when the kids came, they would brush their teeth and the gums were bleeding. We did not have enough fruits and vegetables. In Africa, fruits and vegetables are everywhere. In America, they're expensive. And I went to the university and I said, I'm done. This is too much. The university says, well, there's a local store. They can help you. You know, at the end of the day, usually they throw away fruits and vegetables. I hope you don't mind feeding your children. I said, no, I don't mind. We went to the store. The store owner says, you know, in this country, if I give you these fruits and vegetables, they're already getting burnt and shriveled. And if you feed your kids, and if anything happens, you might end up suing us. And I said, I have no dime to sue nobody. And now I'm crying. So the store manager says, no, wait, don't cry. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the fruits and vegetables in a cardboard box. And I'm going to place this cardboard box near the trash can outside. And make sure that 4 o'clock you come and pick that cardboard box. 99% of the time I was late to that cardboard box. I used to take 18 hours of coursework, taking care of 5 children, 3 jobs because I was an international student. I didn't have any scholarships. And I would find that cardboard box, and I would find some of the fruits and vegetables they've already spilled into the trash can, and I would wash and feed the children and ask myself, who am I even to complain that my own children are eating from a trash can when I know there are thousands, if not millions, of children in sub-Saharan Africa and many parts of the world who live on the streets homeless with no food to eat, and sometimes they eat from dirty trash cans. At least the American trash can is washed. Who am I even to complain that I'm living in a trailer house where we did not have electricity, nothing at all, when I know there are millions of women in many Western countries who live on the streets without any shelter at all? Those thoughts grounded me. But there is something about living in poverty. It affects the whole family. It affects the children. When I was at Oklahoma State University, my first place to live was an apartment. It was a 2-bedroomed apartment. It was probably from here to there, the whole place, 2-bedroomed, very squeezed in with 5 children. It was tough and it was expensive. I decided to move and go and live in a trailer house. The trailer house was dilapidated. When it rains, I would find myself with the kids in a corner because the roof was blown away. There was nothing. We did not have enough electricity. During summertime, it would get so hot, no air conditioner. It was just horrible. And I would find the kids, their performance at school was affected, and even mine. And I am thinking, I came to this country to break that vicious cycle of poverty, to redefine the baton, and here I am. One day, my boy came home and said, Mama, this is just too much. Somebody said, you know, I smell because I'm only wearing these same clothes. We don't have a washer here. We are just too poor. And my eldest son, he cries. He said, Mama, this poverty is just too much. We need to go home. Look at the kids are failing. You know, what kind of a dream is this, Mama? And I am thinking, gosh, if I go home, these little girls that I have, they'll be married. They'll just go through the same pathway that I had gone through. And I said, well, let me just go back to the university. I packed my bags and I went to the university and I met this guy. He was the vice president of student affairs. His name is Dr. Ron Beer. I had no idea that he was the chairperson of the local habitat. He looked at me and he said, don't you mind volunteering some of your time? And I am thinking, gosh, how can I volunteer? I have so much work. Where do I even get the time? He said, please just come, you know, weekends and volunteer your time. I dragged my feet every morning to go to the habitat and building, and started using all kinds of instruments that I had never used to build these houses. And I'll just be doing and dragging and thinking, dear Lord, gosh, where is this going? And the day that I say to myself, enough is enough. I can't live in this trailer house no more. That was the very day that habitat said, you remember one of those houses, you have put enough equity, sweat equity, and the house is yours. I am a habitat. House number 415, 17th Street, Stillwater, Oklahoma, zip code 74074. Tererai Trent is on that paper. For the first time in my life, I own a home. Listen to this. Listen to this. Back home in Africa, back home in Zimbabwe, no woman was allowed to own property. Women were inherited just like property. No woman was allowed to have a bank account. And here is Tererai Trent owning 415 17th Street. Oh my gosh, my name is on that small paper that says, I'm a homeowner. When I say I am Habitat, I mean it from the depth of my heart, because my kids were failing. All of a sudden, Habitat for Humanity, they lead me to Restore, where we had furniture in the house. It was a 4-bedroom house, green in color. They would ask me, what colors do you want? And I would put the colors in that home. Every bedroom that my kids were sleeping had a small lamp, and they would read. And within 6 weeks, their grades were improving, and they were no longer smelling because we had a washer and a dryer. I am Habitat, because if Habitat had not come into my life, in those moments when I was broken, in those moments when I was packing my bags to go home to my country, where probably today I would be dead from HIV and AIDS, what do you expect from poor women when they don't have shelter, when they don't have an affordable housing, when they have nothing? What can we do with 5 children in tow? The oldest profession in the world waits for women who are silenced. Prostitution. Because you need to feed the children. So Habitat, what they did, they saw this baton that I was passing on. They said, no more passing on of that baton of illiteracy, the baton of early marriage, because I could have gone home with my girls and they could have been married. But today I have girls who are excelling. One graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. Yes! And I have another one, she's doing biomedical sciences. I can't even pronounce it because it's just too big. I am Habitat. I know what this organization can do. Look at me and look very carefully. Don't I look like an empowered woman? I do. That's what housing does to communities. It gives them stability. It gives them this thing that I call dignity. All of a sudden, I am walking on campus. I'm a homeowner. Oh, by the way, where do you live? 415, 17th Street. No landlord is coming to ask for their rent because the rent is so expensive anyway. I pay for my house. The mortgage is reasonable. I live on the corner. I feel so good. My teenage girls, I know where they are. They come home. They bring their friends home. It's not the other way around. Because if it was the other way around, I would be telling you that, hey, the kids, they ended up getting pregnant. Because when you don't have shelter, stuff happens. But when you are stable in your own home, you dream big because there is shelter. That's what Habitat for Humanity does. Maybe they don't even recognize it, that they shape and redefine dreams for some of us. I would have gone back home without even finishing my graduate, but they came at the right moment when I needed to excel. Those 5 dreams that I had buried back home in my rural village could not have been achieved, not in Ogona, but Habitat for Humanity came into my life, nailed it. Now I have a home. I have my master's in plant pathology, the same field as agriculture. I got a job. And I left my kids in Stillwater and I go to Arkansas, where the job was. And I'm surprised, and I'm walking along the corridor, and I meet this woman, this white woman. She looks at me. She says, "I think I know you." And I'm thinking, eh? She said, yeah. And I'm thinking, said, "Africa?" And I said, yeah. I'm Jolak. And I'm thinking, yes, that was that woman that I had met. Hear this. That I had met some freaking years ago. 14, 15 years ago. And there she was. Dear Lord, the universe is always conniving for our success. I had no idea, and there she is, and she's saying, "I think I have a photo of you that was taken some years back," and there it was. And now she's the CEO and president of the organization. Woo! I went back home with my first trip, because she reminded me, "I know you still have another dream, a PhD, and you are going to have that PhD." I went home and I dug that ground, fresh ground, and I unearthed those dreams, and I checked going to America, clear, undergraduate, clear, master's, clear, and I could see 2 dreams, and I reburied, came home to America, enrolled myself at Western Michigan University, where I graduated with a PhD in evaluations, which is a lot of statistics and biostatistics. And I remember the day that I was now walking that podium to receive that small paper that now says, Dr. Tererai Trent. And I felt like a lawyer who had rested her case to the world. And here was my closing statement. If we give education opportunities to those who are torn down and marginalized by the social ills of our time, they can achieve their dreams. If we give education opportunities to women and girls, it is the best investment, the best thing that you could do. If you give stable shelter to women, affordable houses to families, they can rise out of poverty, because that's the game changer, having a house. I read a lot about this city, you know, and it says it's impossible. It's impossible for children who are born into poverty to rise out of that poverty situation to where they can improve their lives. It's impossible. And Habitat for Humanity is coming in and saying, we are considered as one of the most booming cities in the nation. Every day we get about 50 individuals who walk on our shores because they love the economy. Look at the investments, look at the construction. It speaks to the greatness of this city, of this town. But there's something about it. The report talks about being ranked the 50th, 50 of the 50 states as a place where the poor will remain poor. But you guys, you are saying none of that. We didn't know of that. The report came out and we are going to do something about it. And Habitat for Humanity is saying, not on our watch. We are going to construct homes. We are going to make sure that we work with those who are poor and marginalized and make sure that they have access to affordable homes. How good is that? How good is that? You are not being indifferent to that. Do you know the reason why you are not being indifferent? Do you know the reason why you are being champions to these issues, to this data that you are hearing? It is because you have that great hunger that I was talking about. It is because you are asking yourselves, does this situation break my heart? It is in those moments when your hearts are being broken, but what you are seeing, you are saying, we can be the extension of God's hand and we can help. And so when I got invited to come here, I said, I'm going home, I'm going home, I'm going home, because I know Habitat for Humanity is a game changer. And they told me they are surrounded by individuals, organizations and companies who truly believe in this mission. You know, many organizations, let me tell you, I also have an organization. Many organizations, they talk too much. Talk. But Habitat for Humanity, they walk that talk. It's tangible. You can feel it. You can smell it. You can see it with your eyes. Look at me, 4-bedroom house, poor African woman, never owned property, and here I am. I'm a homeowner. How is that? So keep on doing the work that you do, and now I have a PhD and I am thinking, dear Lord, how on earth was I going to fulfill that 50th dream, the dream that I'm calling the sacred dream, the dream that my mother said, your dreams will have greater meaning when they are tied to the betterment of your community. And I am thinking, dear, what am I going to do? Then I decided, well, when Jola came, the woman from America, she talked about Tinogona. And I said, why can't I come up with my own t-shirts and I will have Tinogona here. It is achievable. And I'm going to sell these t-shirts and sell millions, thousands, go back home like a giant and build schools. Guess what? I only sold 20 t-shirts. And mostly to my American friends. And I realized in that moment that I didn't have a marketing degree. And I am thinking, what can I do? I need to go back home. And then I got a phone call, the most memorable call of my life, the call from Oprah Winfrey. And she donated $1.5 million. Today, in partnership with Oprah Winfrey, we have built 11 schools benefiting more than 6,000 children that are attending and getting quality education. Just think about this. Just think about this. If Habitat had not come into my life at that point of my life, all this that I'm bragging about would not have happened. There is the power of our connectedness. They helped me to give back to my community with dignity. What makes me happy is that Habitat for Humanity, they gave me their shoulder. I stand on the shoulders of giants. I stand on the shoulders of champions. Many of you who volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and many who donate, maybe sometimes you wonder no more. It's real. It's a real deal, what they do. Many have asked me, Tererai, what makes you happy? And I'm saying it's not about happiness, because happiness is temporary. It is about wholeness. What makes me whole? What makes me whole is realizing that I have giants who helped me to redefine and recreate the baton that I was supposed to pass on, the baton that I never defined, but they looked into that baton, they looked into the root causes of that baton, they addressed the root causes of that baton, and they said no more. So when I look at Habitat for Humanity, I realize they know that the root causes of all the things that we can talk about, if you don't have affordable home, if you don't have ownership in your own home, you can't even advocate for health. You can't even advocate for education. Home is dignity. It's fundamental. Today, when I go to my community, I see these men, and especially the old men. They come to me holding their little girls, and because they would have married, many married young women, and they would come with this 8-year, 7-year, and they look at me, and they say, Tererai, can she be just like you? And I realized in those moments that not only have we provided quality education to our communities, but we have created a platform for self-empowerment. We have created a platform for transforming some of these negative things that happen in our community. That's the power of a dream. The power of a dream that is supported. Many say, oh, Tererai, you must be very lucky to have achieved your dreams. And I say, there's nothing called lucky. There's something called opportunities. There's something called the connectedness that we have. There's something called the collective good. When others look into their communities and they say, we can shift the disparities, we can shift whatever is happening. That's what we can do. My mother all along, she knew it wasn't about my personal goals in life. It wasn't about the degrees and the diplomas that we post on our walls. It wasn't none of that, but it was more about how those degrees and how our personal goals are connected to the greater good. That's the secret to our success. Ladies and gentlemen, after all these experiences that I've had in my life, I decided I wanted to write a book. It's not a memoir, but the nuggets of wisdom that had been passed to me from my mother and my grandmother. I wanted to share it with women. I realized that I was silenced. And I realized in America, in many Western countries, many women and young girls are silenced. We need their awakening. Many would say, oh, you know, this silencing is in Africa. No, it's in America. Go to your TV. If you have one, just open that or whatever you do and just sit on your couch. You begin to hear the silencing of women. You begin to hear the assault, the sexual harassment of women. You begin to see how women are being told, you have to dress this certain way, you have to be beautiful this certain way, you have to be thin like a stick, you have to be... No, we don't have to be women. I provided you with the tools and also the tools for our men who believe in us. I call these men the soul brothers. The men who gets it, that we have to build a society based on equality and equity. They stand with us. We need more women's leadership. We might think that we are so empowered. We have everything in America. And I'm asking you, where are the women in power? How many of them in Congress? How many women are in Congress? And I'm asking you, when are you going to get a woman president? The silencing of one woman is the silencing of a nation. The awakening of one woman is the healing of the world. We need to have more women in power. We need to recognize that it's our collectiveness as a society that will bring much more healing. We need to make sure that we promote, we create empowerment places for women. No more silencing of women. Women are the matriarch. We are the wisdom whisperers. We are the healers. We can change this world whether you want it or not. My dear friends, I come to you with a message that I want to settle in your bones. And you feel it in your bones. I want to inspire you. I want you to believe in your dreams. But more than that, I want your dreams to be connected to the greater good. Always remember what the Native Americans have taught you. Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are one thread within it. Remember, none of the communities that you work with, or none of you, never chose to be born in America. None never chose their parents. I never chose to be born in Africa. I would also have loved to be born here. But there is something that tells me that we never chose those things. This idea that the poor are poor because they are lazy. Oh my goodness, it doesn't exist. It's just an idea that we have. Everyone in this society, in every society, they want to achieve their dreams. We have to create that opportunity. This old woman is almost done. I need to leave you with one saying, Ubuntu. I am because we are. Since we are, therefore, I am. Thank you.
What a treat, huh? What a story.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing it with us. So I've got a couple of questions I'm going to ask Dr. Trent, and then, as I said, we'll open it up to you. So if you've got questions, go ahead and jot them down on your perforated card, or you can tweet them. Apparently I said text earlier, I meant tweet. You may tweet them, or we've got some microphones. So your story is very compelling, and I'm struck by the perseverance. It would be very understandable. A child bride, a mother of four, the baton that was being handed to you, it would have been very easy to give up. Talk to us a little bit about how you didn't, how you found that internal fortitude. As we look in Charlotte, there are many that face generational poverty, and we don't want them to give up. And there's many in this room that are fighting generational poverty, and we don't want anybody to give up. So talk a little bit about how you didn't give up.
You know, we all have that tape recorder in our head that says, give up, you can't do this, look at you. We all do, and I had those. But I think what was unique for me was to be surrounded by these women who believed in me. And I have taken it as a moral obligation to mentor someone, to make sure that I'm in the lives of other women, other men, young men, and women, young girls, because we need that. We are social animals. So many, they give up because they don't have that person who can look into their eyes and say, baby girl, I'm with you. Your vision, your goal, I'm going to make it mine. We walk together. It's going to be tough, but it's achievable. And I had that, and it has become my mantra, Tinogona. It is achievable.
It is achievable. Excellent. One of the things that Habitat Charlotte is working on in partnership with UNC Charlotte's Institute for Social Capital is a study and a project to look at and quantify the impact on children, their performance and their academics before they're in a Habitat home and after they're in a Habitat home. And the early results are really very affirming. We're finding that the children in Habitat homes, that their math skills increase dramatically, that their attendance in school improves dramatically. Talk a little bit more about what housing meant for your children.
You know, it's the same as I was saying. After 6 weeks, I started seeing the results. The academic performance was quite impressive, because before, when we were struggling in this trailer house, the kids were failing, and I would be called to school to talk about their grades. They were failing, and I was also failing. But once we had that greenhouse with 4 bedrooms, it was amazing. It was almost like magic had happened. And I'm telling you, when I talk about my kids excelling in science and in math, I think having that shelter, that place to call home, that dignity, and being able to do your assignments in a place where you don't have to be moving from one place to the next, it's stabilizing. It helped my kids. You know, I like the one who is doing biomedical sciences. She says to me, Mom, I'm going to be your doctor. And I believe that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. In the book, which I really enjoy reading the book, so thank you for that, you talk about hunger.
Yeah.
And you talk about the little hunger, and you talk about the great hunger. Can you talk a little bit about that for the group?
Yeah, you know, I talked about the little hunger. The little hunger is about the immediate gratification. It's about me, 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 me. You ignore what's happening in your own community. That's the little hunger. The little hunger drives us to do things that in our old age we reflect and say, was I really doing that? But the great hunger, which is the hunger that gives us meaning, it drives us. Whereas the little hunger, we do certain things because we want fame. It's all about celebrity. But when you are grounded in who you are, and when you have that great hunger, fame and celebrity is something else. You really want to change the lives of others. That's the great hunger.
The great hunger. I like that. Everybody's seeking for their great hunger.
Yeah.
You talked about just a few minutes ago, Joy Luck, and how she came into your life, and then how you came back into her life with that. But that social capital, that invitation that she made to you, and the planting of a seed. Talk a little bit about kind of how those unintentional encounters can be so important.
Yeah, sometimes we don't take into consideration the power of social capital. We are social animals in many ways. We need one another. And just surrounding yourselves with those who are in harmony with your vision, so who see greatness in you, or taking ourselves to those who are being silenced and providing them that social capital, just being in their presence and encouraging them. It really helps a lot. Sometimes we think it's about funding your dreams with money. In my case, it wasn't about money. It was about somebody looking into me and see greatness in me, which I wasn't seeing, believing in me. We have many girls in our society. They need us because every time they are sitting on TV and we think, oh my goodness, this is, they are being taken care of because they are looking at these things. They are being told, you're not thin enough, you're not beautiful enough. But if we can take those moments and be with these girls and really see their greatness, praise them, making sure that we help them to tap into their talent, the best of them, helping them to think about their dreams and the connections of their dreams to the greater good. We begin to have champions. We begin to have girls who have confidence in themselves, who can excel in their education.
I like to think of all of the girls that you've touched through the schools and the education. The countless opportunities that have now been created and unleashed in the world because of that and that multiplying effect because of your work. And so we're thankful for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I want to be able to expand the conversation to involve others in the room. And so to get us started, I'm going to ask Krista Newkirk, who I think is heading quickly to one of our microphones. Krista is with the Knight Foundation, one of our sponsors, and so Krista agreed to be our first question of the evening to get us going.
Thank you again so much for bringing your message of it's being achievable. It definitely resounded with me, and I too enjoyed the book. We're definitely in a place in time where we need to hopefully change the course of future generations by providing and mitigating the gap of housing and our needs in the city, and also seeing that there is immense growth with about 44 people moving each day. So how would you say that with the growth in coming to the city, but also with people not necessarily being connected to Charlotte and all of the issues, how can we create rituals that would connect us and unify us and remind us of our purpose and the vision in the long term?
In this book, I write about rituals because rituals, they connect me to others. They connect me to me. And I always say, my sister, come home to yourself. When you come home to yourself, you begin to realize the world without, because you need to understand who you are. And I think having these kinds of gatherings and being intentional about these gatherings and making sure that the messages are out there so that the whole community, they understand the issues. It's quite impressive for you that you come together, you recognize what the report is talking about and the data that is out there, and you are coming up with strategies to help one another. But how do we keep the momentum? I think that's the question. What can we do as a community? I think it's time now where we need to speak and own the issues in our own voices and try to come together as a community and really bring the voiceless to our table. It's one thing to talk about solving these issues, and yet we don't bring those who are marginalized or those who are being affected by the issues. We need to bring them. We need to hear more from them. I think it's critical because you can't, I always say, you don't empower nobody. You create space for people to empower themselves.
Good. Shannon?
I think we were going to collect some questions from the audience if anyone has one. Laura, do you want to go to one more of yours while we see if we have a few from the audience?
Absolutely. So in the book, you have a quote that says that the awakening of women is the awakening of the whole world.
Yes, yes.
Can you talk a
yes.
little bit more about that?
The awakening of women, because women, we are such an untapped resource. Women are creative. Women, I've never known a woman who, I don't know, maybe they are there, but women, we are nurturers. We love this collective energy that we have. And if we can tap that collective energy, women will heal the world. If we have more women in power, we won't have poverty. I can tell you that. Because no woman would go to bed knowing another child is hungry. We would never have, yay, my soul brothers, yay. We would never have wars.
Yeah.
Every day we talk about wars that we are fighting here and there. I truly believe let's have more women in position. And women, when we get into those positions, leadership is action, it's not the position. And women, when we get into these positions, it's okay to display the feminine leadership. We don't have to behave like men. We can have our own style of leadership, and that's okay. And I truly believe women are the game changers. I believe that.
Great, thanks.
You had two very special women in your life, and you talk about them, and I feel the power of the connection to your mother and your grandmother. And it wasn't just batons that were passed of the type you described, but also the baton of expectations and dreams. So you are living the dreams of your mother and your grandmother. I hope your mother is alive. Could you tell us a little more about your mother, and just tell us about her as a person?
My mother died in 2013. I don't know how I can even get over it. It's painful. And it's true that my mother used to say to me, when you talk about the baton of poverty, in this book I talk about the soul wounds that are passed from one generation to the next, the soul wounds. We carry those. But my mother would always say, not only the soul wounds, but there's also the wisdom that is also passed on. But in our lives, we have to decide, do I want the narrative of the baton, or do I want the narrative of the wisdom? And for me, when I talk about the baton, I'm trying to pave way also for the wisdom, because there was great wisdom, the ancient wisdom, the sacred wisdom that was passed on to me. When you read the book, I talk much about that, the rituals. I remember when I wrote down my dreams, my mother would always say, can you see those dreams? And I would always make these mental images of what life would be like. I had never been in an aeroplane in my life. So when I wrote about coming to America, the only aeroplane that I knew were the helicopters that were used during the war. And I would visualize myself sitting in that aeroplane coming to America and go to this place where I had buried my dreams and visualize and make these mental images of myself walking on a campus in a foreign country and sitting in a classroom, and visualize myself getting that degree and see myself with a PhD, and it would become so real to me. And I would be creating these mental images in my mind. And when I achieved those things, there was this feeling of déjà vu. I've been there before. But I think what's critical about this was there was this connection to this sacred dream. I think that's what made it so real for me, that I wasn't just dreaming for the purpose of just me, but also connecting these dreams, and look at what has happened. Those dreams really connected me to organizations like Habitat for Humanity, to other individuals and many organizations that have helped me. I think it's sacred because this connection is real, and it's also helping me to connect to the children that are in need of quality education.
We have a question from Twitter. Dr. Trent, you said that you helped to mentor some young people, including young men. What message can you send to young men to appreciate women more?
Sometimes, I was asked this question about, you talk more about the empowerment of women. I truly believe that we have men that are also being silenced. And I have a strong message for those men. Go for your dreams. Don't let anybody silence you. But it's also important for our young men to get as much education as we want them to have, because for us to win this gender equality, we need men. Let's not fool ourselves. As long as our men are disempowered, or as long as our men feel that they have this entitlement, we can never achieve gender equality. We need men. And women, when we talk about education for young girls, we also have to talk about education for young men as well. Because here is the deal. 50 years from today, if we don't talk about the education for young men, it will be a man standing here talking, giving these keynote speeches and talking about how he was silenced by women. Women, we can't do that. We are too good. We can't do that.
Some water if you want.
We have a couple more. One for you, Laura, is can you talk a little bit about how Habitat influences generational wealth?
Sure. So the Habitat model is really built all about generational wealth and building on equity. So, one of the misnomers sometimes with Habitat is that some people believe that Habitat homes are given away, and that's not the case. We build the homes, sweat equity, as Tererai talked about, is the investment from the homeowner, and then they buy the home from us at an affordable mortgage, and they pay that back. So they build equity over time, and that equity then in that home allows them to be able to reinvest that with the next generation. So it allows them to send their children to school, it allows them to plan for retirement, and it sets them up in a way that can break that cycle of generational poverty.
And also to add on to generational wealth, when well-to-do families, when they have homes, if they die in old age, their kids, they inherit their properties. But poor folks, we inherit poverty, and that's what's given to poor people. So having a home, generation after generation, have a place to call home, and it's equity that is being built.
Great.
How does the next generation sustain the big hunger that drives to accomplish big goals?
Social media. I truly believe that sometimes we underestimate this young generation. This young generation is very powerful. Sometimes we have failed them. They are smart. They know the solutions. If this young generation were to be in power, this world will be different. Look at Florida with the issues that is going on. It is the young generation that is leading the core, and we need to have them to hear some of these talks that we have. because they have the solution. But because we don't engage them, so what do? Tweet, 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 tweet. But we need them. Yeah, we really need them. That's the only generation that I know, they don't even think about skin color. No, they don't. This generation, this young one. We, the old ones, oh my gosh, we are messed up. We are. This is where our hope is. These are our leaders. Just listen to them. They will change nations.
So we'll take one more. We have time for one more question. We'll take all the ones that we haven't answered. We'll answer on our social media and make sure. So stay tuned for that. There are some questions about campus chapters, volunteering, and home ownership. So you can visit our website, or if you have your name on here, we'll reach out to you directly about that. So the last question is, Dr. Trent, what are your plans for the future? What's next for you?
I am tired of burying my dreams under the dirt. I'm tired. I'm burying my dreams in your hearts. I am.
Dr. Trent, Tererai, we are so honored that you have come to Charlotte and spent the evening with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you for
everybody help me thank Dr. Trent.